My sister-in-law lured me into a family vacation, but her cruel airport prank reopened my stalking trauma and shattered our family bonds forever. I, a 27-year-old female, have been with my husband, Aaron, a 27-year-old male, for 3 years. We have known each other for 6 years. He has an older sister, Sophie, and she is the one who caused this entire commotion. In the family that I'm going to talk about 3 weeks ago, Sophie asked me if I would be willing to accompany her on an all-women family holiday to Spain with her. My mother-in-law and my husband's cousin, Nadia, a 27-year-old female. Nadia and Aaron are much closer than he and Sophie, despite being first cousins rather than biological siblings, because they were in the same grade and went to the same high school. As a result, I am much closer to Nadia as well. Initially, I was not too inclined to go on a family vacation because I did not think it would be that fun with Sophie and my mother-in-law. However, Nadia and I had a chat, and she told me that she wanted a break, so she was willing to go and wanted me to come along too. She convinced me, and I agreed to go on the trip. Sophie was the one sponsoring the flight tickets and the hotel stay, which was not a problem for her whatsoever because she is extremely wealthy, thanks to her husband, who is a neurosurgeon. She runs an event management company, but everyone knows that the company pretty much runs itself. She just does not want to come off as a socialite who does not work. She has a degree in literature, but she has never used it and believes that college was a total waste of time for her, except for the part where she met her current husband through a friend at a party. Aaron has told me that Sophie has been spoiled rotten by her parents ever since childhood, and whatever she wanted, she got. That behavior has extended into adulthood, and even now she thinks that sulking, pouting, and giving the silent treatment will be enough to manipulate people into doing what she wants. It does not help that her husband and her parents still encourage such childish behavior, but Aaron, Nadia, and I know when to ask her to cut it out so she does not try to behave the same way with us. If I'm being honest, I've never particularly liked Sophie, but since she has never been outright mean to me, I have put up with her for the sake of the family. Anyway, I agreed to go on that trip with her. 3 days ago, we were finally about to leave. The airport is kind of far from my house, so I had to leave early and ended up arriving about half an hour early as well. I was pretty bored while waiting for the rest of the party to arrive, so I decided to scroll through my phone instead. That morning, unfortunately, my phone's vibration motor stopped working, so it was not buzzing whenever I received a notification, as it usually does. I did not have time to repair it that day, so I decided I would do it once I returned from the holiday. It was purely by luck that I was on my phone when I received the message. I received an image from Sophie, where she had sent me a screenshot of a text she had received from a number I did not recognize. The conversation had an image followed by a text, and once I downloaded it, I opened the image to check out the contents because it felt bizarre that Sophie was sending me a screenshot of someone else's conversation. As soon as I did, my blood froze. The picture had been taken right outside my house by someone holding a pair of scissors in their left hand. Within seconds, I received another message from the same number. "Tell your darling brother's wife that I'm back." Sophie followed that screenshot up by saying that she had received this text from an unknown number a couple of minutes ago and that she was terrified because she thought Aaron was in danger. That was all I needed to go into panic mode because I have a history of being stalked, and it was literally the single most terrifying phase of my life. Back when I was in college, I had a stalker who would randomly take pictures of me from behind and send them to me throughout the day. He would not text me on my number, but would use dummy social media accounts to contact me. He would ask me to meet him at certain spots, but he would never show up. I would not go unarmed, and I was trained in jiu-jitsu, but even then I felt very afraid of what might happen. This went on for 2 whole months, and I did not tell anyone because I was scared of what he might do if I did. Initially, I tried to get the guy to stop, but he texted me and told me that if I breathed even a word of this to anyone, I would be in big trouble. He had even sent me a similar picture from right outside my parents' house to threaten me, scissors and all. I was terrified, so I did not tell anyone, and just kept silently praying for my safety whenever I had to attend classes. After the first few weeks, I stopped leaving my dorm room for anything but classes and food. Eventually, it got to a point where I refused to leave my room at all because I kept receiving pictures of myself so frequently. It was then that my roommate finally realized something was wrong and forced me to tell her. After that, we went to the police to report it. Within a few days, an arrest had been made, and ironically, it was a guy from the computer engineering department. He was a senior and had a history of making girls on campus feel creeped out or harassed. Unfortunately, he had taken a liking to me, and so he started stalking me. Because he specialized in cybersecurity, he was able to find out a lot. about me from my social media accounts, which were public at the time. He had also been simultaneously stalking another girl who had not reported it for the same reasons as me. Once he was caught, he was kicked out of college, and that was the end of him terrorizing me and other women. From what I heard, his parents took him back after a couple of days, and he ended up back in his home country. It has been several years since then, and I had almost forgotten about him. But as soon as I saw that image, all the terror came rushing back, and I instantly called Sophie. I told her to get to my house as soon as possible, but forgot to mention that I had already called the police because I was more concerned about trying to warn Aaron instead. I got a cab within minutes and started desperately trying to call my husband because I knew he was still asleep. It was 8 o'clock in the morning at the time, and my husband has a tendency to sleep late on weekends, so I knew it would not be easy to get through to him. But luckily he did answer when I called him the first time. I could tell he had just woken up because he sounded drowsy, but I did not have time to spare, so I told him to arm himself with something heavy, lock himself in the bedroom, and block the door somehow. He was confused, but as soon as I mentioned the picture, he told me he understood and did as I told him. I stayed on the call with him throughout the 45-minute cab ride home, even as the police arrived and inspected the house. I did not check my phone in the meantime, and since the vibration feature was gone, I was not getting any physical reminders from the notifications to remind me either. By the time I reached home, their inspection was almost over, and they had not found anyone suspicious in the vicinity. I was having a full-blown panic attack by the time I reached home, and it took me several minutes and half a bottle of water to finally calm down. The police told me that they had run the phone number through the system, and the only name that had come up was Fu Wilson. That was not my stalker's name, but a fake name for his phone number would be totally feasible. By then I had forgotten about Sophie and my phone and had not checked it in a while because I was just so relieved to see that Aaron was safe. The police who came to my house informed me that they had sent 2 officers separately to track this person after. The cybercrime department had traced the sender, and they were currently bringing them to the police station. Aaron and I headed over to the nearest police station. Within a few minutes of our arrival, Sophie was dragged in by 2 officers while she sobbed violently. I think most people can guess what happened by now, and yes, it is exactly what you think. For whatever reason, Sophie had thought it would be a good idea to pull a prank on me that morning just to mess with me a little before our trip. She had met a friend of mine from college for work a couple of days earlier. And, of course, I came up while they were discussing families. Once they discovered the connection, my old college friend told her all about my stalker in college, which was something I had become very well known for. I am not bragging, but after the stalker incident, my popularity among students and teachers alike had skyrocketed because everyone loves a good scandal. I never thought it was fun to be pointed at and whispered about, but people remembered, and I guess they were still talking about it. After finding out about my past stalker, Sophie decided that she was going to prank me on the morning of our flight, thinking it would be fun. So she used a phone number she had taken out a couple of days earlier under a fake name just for this purpose to text herself an image she had taken a few days ago right in front of our house, with scissors and an outstretched arm. Of course, now that I paid attention to the hand in the photo, I could tell it was not a man's hand at all, but she had made the effort to remove her nail polish. So when I received that picture the first time, it was hard for me to tell while being so panic-stricken. The fear had messed with my mind, and I had missed a lot of important hints that this was a prank. But at the end of the day, it did not matter. It had been a traumatic experience for me back in college, and the thought of going through that again really scared me, especially when Aaron and his safety were at risk. It was not fun at all, and ended with an embarrassing visit to the police station, where she was let off with a warning. Aaron and I ended up wasting our time and energy worrying about the return of my stalker when we had nothing to worry about. I was beyond angry when I left the station and just let her have it. I must have screamed at her for more than 15 minutes, and by the time I was done she was crying again, but I did not care. She tried to make a mockery out of something that was a really traumatic and scary experience for me, and because of her own stupidity, she had landed us all in an embarrassing situation. She could cry her tears all she wanted, but I was not going to feel even an iota of sympathy for her. Aaron and I drove back home that day, and on the ride back I told Nadia all about what had happened. Even she ended up canceling the trip because, let's be real, nobody wants to hang out with someone like Sophie after they go above and beyond in their stupidity. That entire day I did nothing but try to calm my nerves because it had been a crazy morning and I still had not gotten over the stalker scare. The threat had felt very real at the time, and even after finding out it was not real, it was very difficult for me to shake off the fear because it had been the darkest time for me when it happened back in college. I will admit I was still pretty spooked by it. That day, I did not talk to anyone apart from Aaron and a little to Nadia. I did not get any notifications either because I turned my phone off for the day. I had had enough. It was only 2 days ago that I found out that my mother-in-law and Sophie had filled my entire inbox with messages about how I had been the one to overreact to a silly little prank and that it had been cruel of me to tell Nadia to back out of the vacation as well. I had not even told Nadia not to go on the trip. I just told her about what Sophie had done. The decision not to go on the trip was hers alone, and I had no part in it. Apparently, Nadia and Aaron had turned everyone against Sophie, and now nobody in the family wanted to speak to her after what she had done, including my own father-in-law, her dad. My mother-in-law and Sophie think that I am the one behind this, but I had not even told anyone about what had happened. I could not have because I did not even use my phone that day. It was all Nadia and Aaron who had informed the other cousins and generally, just the younger folks of the family who are now cutting Sophie off. They think that I am the one who now owes Sophie an apology because what she did was just a harmless prank, but what is happening to her is real and hurtful. She's being cut off by her own family, and that is why she is now the victim here. I spoke to Aaron about this after I read their texts, and he told me that there is no reason for me to feel sorry for her at all. Neither he nor Nadia feel sorry for telling everyone else about this. What she did to me was undoubtedly cruel and not just a harmless prank. It would have been harmless if it had not triggered my past trauma to the point of making me unable to think or do anything else for an entire day. But we all know the mental toll it took on me. I agree because it was not harmless at all. I had been paralyzed with anxiety for 1 whole day because of what she did, so now she deserved every bit of this. Plus, she did not even apologize to me and just kept crying, so I do not know why. She even expected me to feel sorry for her when she did not feel sorry for me. I think that is very hypocritical of her. After I read the texts and spoke to Aaron about it, I was just going to ignore her because I had no intention of wasting my own time by speaking to her and trying to reason with her. But she just kept texting me again and again. It was clear that she was trying to make me feel guilty about what had happened, and I knew that she fully believed she could manipulate me into apologizing and getting the family back on good terms with her again. It got on my nerves after a while, so in a moment of frustration, I actually ended up responding to her. I texted her back, saying that I was glad she had chosen to play such an insensitive and cruel prank on me because that just revealed what an awful person she was to everyone, and she only had herself to thank for the situation she was in right now. The past few weeks have been a storm of emotions, a chaotic swirl of fear, anger, guilt, and, surprisingly, a faint glimmer of hope for healing. What Sophie did, her cruel, thoughtless prank, cut deeper than I could have imagined, dragging me back to a place of terror I thought I had left behind years ago. As I sit here, trying to make sense of it all, I feel like I'm untangling a knot of memories, regrets, and lessons that will stay with me for a long time. When I first saw that image Sophie sent, the one with the scissors outside my house, my heart stopped. It was not just a picture, it was a portal to one of the darkest chapters of my life. Back in college, being stalked was a nightmare that consumed me. The constant fear, the violation of my privacy, the dread of not knowing who was watching or what they might do next. It changed me. I became hypervigilant, second-guessing every shadow, every stranger. Even after the stalker was caught, the scars lingered. I thought I had moved on, that I had rebuilt my sense of safety with Aaron by my side, but Sophie's prank ripped that away in an instant. The panic attack I had in that cab, the way my hands shook as I tried to call Aaron, the way my mind raced with worst-case scenarios. It was as if I was back in that dorm room, paralyzed by fear. That Sophie could so carelessly trigger that trauma, knowing my history, feels like a betrayal not just of me, but of the trust I placed in her as family. The anger came next, hot and unrelenting. When I saw her at the police station, sobbing as if she were the victim, I could barely contain myself. I screamed at her, letting out every ounce of frustration, fear, and hurt. In that moment, I did not care about her tears or her excuses. She had taken something sacred, my sense of safety, and turned it into a game for her amusement. I think what hurt most was the realization that she thought it would be funny. Funny. The word still stings. How could anyone think that exploiting someone's trauma, especially something as violating as being stalked, could be a source of amusement? It felt like she was mocking not just me, but the pain I had fought so hard to overcome. That anger carried me through that day, through the decision to cut her out of the trip, through the texts I sent calling her out. It felt justified, righteous even, to finally tell her exactly what I thought of her. But as the days passed, that anger began to feel heavy, like a weight I was carrying everywhere. When Sophie kept texting me, trying to twist the narrative to make herself the victim, I snapped. Calling her a pig, targeting her insecurity about her weight, it was a low blow, and I knew it even as I typed the words. I have been on the receiving end of body shaming, mocked for being too skinny, and I know how much it hurts. Yet in that moment I wanted her to feel pain, to feel small, the way she had made me feel. It was a fleeting satisfaction, but it left a bitter aftertaste. When I read her response claiming she had seen me as a friend and accusing me of being just as cruel as she was, I felt a pang of guilt. Not for standing up to her, but for stooping to her level. For letting my anger push me to say something I knew would cut deep. I apologized for the pig comment, not because I felt sorry for her, but because I could not live with myself, knowing I had attacked someone's appearance, something I swore I would never do after my own experiences. That apology was not easy. It felt like swallowing glass, admitting fault to someone who had hurt me so deeply and shown no real remorse. Her passive-aggressive response only confirmed what I already knew. She was not sorry, not really. She was sorry she got caught. Sorry her family was turning against her, but not sorry for the pain she caused me. Yet sending that apology lifted a small weight off my chest. It was not about her. It was about me, about holding on to the values I want to live by, even when it is hard. I do not regret calling her out for her actions, but I regret letting my anger pull me into a place where I use someone's insecurities against them. That is not who I want to be. Reflecting on Sophie herself, I realize I have always struggled with her. She is spoiled, manipulative, and thrives on attention, traits that have clashed with my own personality. I am not perfect, far from it, but I value honesty and accountability, things Sophie seems to lack. Her wealth, her status, the way her parents and husband enable her behavior, it all grates on me. I have tolerated her for Aaron's sake, for the sake of family harmony, but this incident shattered any pretense of civility. I do not think I can ever trust her again, not after she used my trauma as a prop for her amusement. The fact that she thought it was okay to play such a prank, knowing what I went through, makes me question whether she ever saw me as family at all. Maybe she did see me as a friend, as she claimed, but her actions tell a different story, one of selfishness and disregard. Nadia and Aaron have been my anchors through this. Nadia's decision to cancel the trip, her fierce loyalty in telling the family what Sophie did, made me feel seen and supported. She understood, without me having to explain, how deeply that prank hurt me. Aaron, too, has been unwavering. His anger at Sophie matched mine, but more than that, he was there through my panic, my tears, my rage. He held me when I could not stop shaking, stayed on the phone with me during that terrifying cab ride, and stood by me when I confronted Sophie. His refusal to let me feel guilty for what happened, his insistence that Sophie deserved the consequences, gave me strength. But I also see the toll this has taken on him. Sophie is his sister, and while he is furious with her, I know there is a part of him that grieves the fracture in their family. I hate that he is caught in the middle, that my pain has become his burden too. My mother-in-law's reaction, though, has been harder to process. Her texts, defending Sophie while acknowledging her mistake, felt like a slap in the face. I understand a mother's instinct to protect her child, but to suggest that I overreacted, that I should apologize for being traumatized, is baffling. It makes me question whether she truly understands the gravity of what Sophie did. I have not responded to her, and I am not sure I will. Right now, the wound is too fresh, and her refusal to hold Sophie fully accountable feels like a betrayal. I know families are complicated, and I do not expect her to disown her daughter, but her dismissal of my pain stings more than I expected. The family fallout has been surreal. Seeing Sophie ostracized by the younger relatives, even her own father, is both satisfying and unsettling. On one hand, I feel vindicated. She crossed a line, and people are holding her accountable. On the other, I did not want to be the cause of such a rift, even indirectly. I did not tell anyone to cut her off. Nadia and Aaron took that initiative, and the family's reaction snowballed from there. Yet Sophie and my mother-in-law seem convinced I orchestrated it all, painting me as the villain. It is frustrating, but I am trying to let it go. I cannot control how others see me, only how I respond. And right now, I choose to focus on my own healing, on protecting my peace. Nadia's pregnancy announcement brought a much-needed burst of joy amidst this chaos. The party was a reminder of what family can be: love, celebration, connection. Sophie's absence was noticeable, but her passive-aggressive text to Nadia only reinforced why she was not invited. Her attempt to insert herself into the moment, to play the victim while ignoring her own actions, was classic Sophie. We laughed about it, but beneath the laughter was a sadness. I wish things could be different, that she could have been there, genuinely. Happy for Nadia, without the need for drama or manipulation, but I am learning to accept that Sophie is who she is, and I cannot change her. As I look forward, I am trying to focus on what I can control, my own actions, my own growth. This incident has forced me to confront my own capacity for anger and cruelty. I am not proud of the words I used against Sophie, but I am proud of myself for apologizing, for choosing to rise above my hurt. I am also learning to set boundaries. Sophie may be family, but I do not owe her my trust or my time, not after this. I will be civil for Aaron's sake, but I am done pretending we are friends. My energy is better spent on the people who lift me up, Nadia, Aaron, and the family members who have shown me kindness and understanding. I am also finding strength in reclaiming my story. The stalking incident in college left me feeling powerless, but surviving it made me stronger. Sophie's prank tried to take that strength away, but it also reminded me of my resilience. I got through that nightmare once, and I will get through this too. I am learning to forgive myself for the moments I faltered, for the anger that led me to lash out. I am learning to hold space for my pain without letting it define me. And most of all, I am learning to cherish the love and support around me, to lean into the joy of moments. Like Nadia's pregnancy announcement, to build a life where fear does not have the last word. This experience has changed me. It has shown me the depths of my own emotions, the power of forgiveness, and the importance of boundaries. I do not know what the future holds for my relationship with Sophie, or my mother-in-law, but I know I am stronger than I was before. I am grateful for Aaron, for Nadia, for the family that has stood by me. And I am hopeful, not for a perfect resolution, but for a life where I can move forward with grace, leaving the weight of this incident behind.